All right, we'll leave it there. I just want to show everybody the Daily Record story headline about the controversial hate crime bill is to be put to final vote at the Scottish Parliament. We can talk to Rona Mackay, SNP MSP, about that today. Welcome to Politics Live. Rona, it's been hugely controversial, this bill, and there have been a number of changes made to it in response to the concerns raised by all sorts of people and organisations. So can I just clarify with you what is still in the bill? Will someone be prosecuted for words, could they be, prosecuted for words they say in their own home?
Thank you. No, that is absolutely not the case. It really does need to be stressed that this is a criminal bill. There's a very high threshold for criminal for conviction and criminal procedures, and all allegations have to be proved beyond reasonable doubt in a court of law. Within the bill, we have the Justice Secretary, Humza Yousaf, and the Justice Committee have worked very, very hard with a whole variety of stakeholders, from equality, racial equality, gender equality groups, faith groups, and victim support groups, yes, to strike the right balance between freedom of expression and protecting the rights of minorities. Right,
but still, Rona, just to say to you, on the basis of that, you've got endless complaints. I mean, the National Secular Society chief executive has said the passing of the hate crime bill will have a chilling effect on freedom of expression in Scotland. Simon Calvert, the deputy director of the Christian Institute, has said whilst we welcome changes that have been made to the bill in response to the huge clamour of opposition it created, people are still rightly concerned about how it will be enforced in practice. And there are also criticisms put forward by Hardeep Singh, spokesman for the network of Sikh organisations, who say that MSPs needed to put free speech before party, well, they have in fact put party politics before free speech. So you've hardly allayed the concerns of a whole variety of people.
Well, I hope when the bill comes before Parliament this afternoon that those concerns will be allayed. I'm certainly will be. As I say, that it really is important to stress this is a bill that doesn't stifle debate. People can still express opinions, use challenging language. They can even they even have the right to offend, shock, or disturb. Or why they would want to do that, I've no idea. But it's not about discussion. It's not about opinion or expressing your opinion. It's a criminal bill, and you know, it has to be that you've been stirring up racial hatred or gender hatred with intent to threaten or abuse.
Right, but I think that
is quite clear.
Yes, but I mean, the Justice Minister, you mentioned him, Humza Yousaf, said if you're sitting around the dinner table having a debate about transgender identity and your view is that a man can't transition to a woman, then you won't get prosecuted. But if your behaviour is found to be threatening or abusive by a reasonable person and it was intended to stir up hatred, and that can be proven beyond reasonable doubt, then you will be prosecuted. So I ask again, are you sure you won't be prosecuted for things that you say in the privacy of your own home if they're deemed to stir up hatred?
Well, yes. I mean, I think if you ask anyone who's been targeted by someone who's, you know, been stirring up hatred with intent to threaten or abuse within their own home, and you say, well, they won't be prosecuted because it was within their own home, that's not going to bring them any comfort. I mean, your home should not be a sanctuary when it comes to stirring up hatred with intent to threaten or abuse. That just doesn't make sense. So I think this is something that hopefully, when people realise the content of the bill now and the amendments that have been made, rightly so, because freedom of speech is a human right, then they will be reassured that this is not anything to do with that. I'm afraid that's been sensationalised a lot.
All right. Well, Dan, are you reassured by what you've heard?
I don't understand to what problem this legislation is a solution. We already have clear criminal penalties for incitement for stirring up violence, right? Both in English and in Scottish law, that is an ancient remedy. I think it's really sad that, particularly in Scotland, the home of Adam Smith and David Hume, the place that got the whole Enlightenment going, the place that elevated and ennobled this idea of personal freedom and of free expression being the way in which we get to the truth by having clashing different interpretations, sometimes strongly expressed, that we are now we've now got a government that wants to criminalise certain opinions, not actions, not violence, but things that they don't like. And I think that is disproportionate, and I think it is absolutely against the traditions, the open and liberal traditions of Scotland and indeed of the UK.
Rona?
Well, what Dan has said is absolutely incorrect. It is not intended to do that in any way, shape or form. This is sending out a message to people who want to threaten and abuse minority groups, that it's just simply not acceptable in Scotland. And what this bill does, it consolidates fragmented pieces of legislation which have been used in the past against hate crimes into one single piece of legislation, which will make it much easier to understand and much more workable. It comes in the back of a hate review crime done by Lord Brackadale, and he reported in 2018. It went largely unreported, incidentally. We've implemented a lot of the recommendations that he made in that report.
Right.
And this is just simply our way of saying, you just cannot threaten and abuse minority groups.
Right. Well, Dan,
and,
well, Dan, that is a noble pursuit, isn't it?
Well, actually, I think you have to have the freedom to be rude and even obnoxious up to the point of incitement, as long as you are not directly threatening people. Now, that is already prohibited. That is already a criminal offence. So this is not plugging some gap because you were previously allowed to go around stirring up violence against people. That's been illegal for hundreds of years. This is the phrase that Rona just used there that I thought was very telling about sending a message. This is a way for politicians to say, look at me, I care about this issue very much. And that is almost always a recipe for bad, disproportionate law that has unintended consequences.
Rona?
Well, I mean, again, I can only disagree. I mean, this bill has received, you rightly say, a lot of attention. We have put so much work into this to make it, to strike the right balance between freedom of expression, which we hold dear. And it's not about not being able to express your opinion or have discussions, and even to shock, or disturb, or offend. So that's not covered. This is entirely to do with stirring up hatred with intent to threaten or abuse. And it's a criminal, a high bar threshold for that. So all this talk about us, stifling freedom of expression, it's not. It's trying to protect a variety of minority groups. Hate crime is on the rise. At least 18 hate crimes are committed in Scotland every day.
All right.
That's just not acceptable.